I'm Marilyn German. I am a retired elementary school librarian. Actually, before that, I was a former nurse. I have been a widow for 29 years. I have discovered the ability to love and know God through so many children and adults, but so much more for the kids because of what I went through in my early life. I had a daughter that was 2.5 when we were expecting our second child, and discovered that I was not feeling any movement anymore at all. Called the doctor, went into the hospital, discovered that the baby had died. I spent almost 6 days in the hospital trying to have this child delivered. Finally, the baby was born, and it was a baby girl, which we did name. But the child was taken away immediately by doctors or whoever, I don't even know who. And I never saw the child. I have no idea what she looked like or anything else. Before I came out of the hospital, she was buried in the family plot. My husband was there, but I wasn't. For like 24 hours, I was given nothing to eat and nothing to drink. I was dying of thirst, and they wouldn't give me any water, and I lied. Said, I have a horrible headache. Please bring me a wet washcloth, which they put on my head, and then I'd take it down and suck it so that I could get some fluid out of it. I mean, the sterileness of the experience in the hospital, the coldness of the caregivers, it was just very hard for me to deal with once I got into therapy and recognized what all that coldness had done to me.
I'm Gail Wilson. David and I have been married for 45 years. And I'm from a family of 8 children. None of my aunts or siblings ever had a miscarriage. So any experience of that, it was unfamiliar to me.
Well, Gail and I experienced a miscarriage while we were college students, and we didn't really talk much about it. I was with her in the hospital when she lost the child, and we kind of just put it on the back burner, in a sense. Gail and I came to faith in 1981, and one of the first things I learned was that I hadn't really embraced before, was that all people are created in the image of God. So they have God's hand and God's mark upon them. We came to understand that this was our child that God had given us and that we had created. It just leads me back to my mom, who had 8 miscarriages and never talked about it, never got the support or got the encouragement, how she was able to have 8 children and kept trying to have children, and had me. And it's amazing what she went through, and the courage that she had. And for 20 years of my life, 25 years of my life, I never thought much about it or talked much about it, but I do now. So I was called to the ministry probably in the late 1980s, and it also brought to memory to me the ministries that I've had over the years to families who had lost children.
If Still Remembered Project had been there for every one of the children that we have experienced having died or miscarried, would have made immense difference for those parents.
So we are here to tell our story about our son, Benjamin. I found out I was pregnant in March of 2017, and the rest of the pregnancy went pretty smoothly. Everything looked great. I went in for my 39-week appointment, and everything, again, looked great. That evening, I got rushed to the hospital where I had an emergency C-section.
And then on the way there, her mother had called me, I guess when they were taking her back, and said, she didn't say something was wrong, but she was saying that something seemed off. So, by the time I got there, the doctor had come out to her and had said that there was no heartbeat. She came out and said, hey, we've gone through 4 rounds of chest compressions and to bring him back onto the machine. And if we keep doing it, we could break his chest bone. So what do you want to do? And it was just like that quick. Like it was decision-making time. Like she was out of it. And I made the decision to, keep him comfortable, And they were like, do you want him to have his last breath with you? And I looked at the doctor and I was pretty like floored. I was like, do people really do that? Do people really like hold their babies like that, that like pass away? And she was like, absolutely, So they got him together, brought him out. I sat behind her where she was in a little curtained area next to like an empty bed. And he took his last breath with me, and he was beautiful. And I talked to him a lot, and I told him I was sorry, and told him I had a lot of plans for like our family, and then I spent about probably 40 minutes with him after that, still talking to him, still kissing him, telling him I'm sorry, and she hadn't even woken up yet. And, I was like, what are we going to do with Sarah? Like, she's not going to be good. Like, she's not going to be good for a very long time.
When I woke up, I didn't know what was going on. And to be honest, I still barely remember anybody telling me. I know I held Ben at that time, but I don't remember holding him. I was still kind of under the anesthesia, and I don't remember a lot of it. I don't remember the screaming, and I don't remember the crying, and I don't know if that's a good thing or, if that's a bad thing that I don't remember it. So after Ben had passed, I went through a period of time that was a little bit dark. We'll just say that. It took me a while to grieve and to really get to a place where I could learn to go about my daily life. And so, that took a while. When we were in the hospital, I received a box, and in it were a beautiful blanket. One of my favorite keepsakes was a little container that said baby's first haircut, and in it was a piece of Ben's hair. It was one of my favorite things that I have gotten to this day. And we also received this beautiful book. We were supposed to have a baby, but we had an angel instead. This was perfect in explaining to our 5-year-old what had happened, and along with the bear. And I told him that Ben had given him, the bear. That is how I kind of found out about the Still Remembered Project. And that's when I started going to the meetings. And
then she, slowly started breaking the barriers down to get better, and she started getting better, I don't know, like the therapy is great, but I feel like you guys are the ones that really turned her around a little bit, you know. Just knowing that, you know, that there's someone she can call that knows how she's feeling when she tells them how she's feeling.
If you just think of David's mother, if you guys had been there, what a difference it would have made. The culture was different. You really didn't talk about these things. But there was no one to alongside her, ever, I don't believe.
You know, in those days, people would say to you, it's about time you got over this, don't you think? No, if you were sad or unhappy or miserable, it's like, you know, come on, live with this, get going. I think my husband and I talked about it some, but I think he dealt with it his way and I dealt with it with mine, which was very sad. I appreciate the ability for this group that's now flourished to such an extent to show what can be done and to show the nurture that can be given to parents. Yeah, to me, it's certainly an act of God working through many people.
I've met a lot of women, men too, but more so women in this past year and a half whose, you know, losses go from recent to 5 years to 10 years to 15 to even met a woman whose was, I think, like 39 some years ago, and you know, all of them have, besides the loss, they have the fact in common that their kind of love for their child never changes. It even grows, I think, more so, you know, as time goes on.
You know what? It's grown through the face of many, many other children. Every time I see a little one, every time I think about what it would have been like if she'd grown up, what it's been like watching my great-grands grow up because they're still little. You know, it's just through the love I've been surrounded with, which has really been triple-fold through the years. I think the love of that little child gets passed around to so many others that you live and deal with all your life.
We made a decision to adopt a child. Almost 1 year after Ben had passed, we got a phone call that there was a baby boy born at McGee. You know, would we be interested in taking him? And I was like, oh my God, of course. So we went down and we picked him up, and he is 2.5 months now, and he has helped us to heal, and he has, you know, brought joy into our home with our other son, and I wish I could have all 3 of them, but that's not possible.
Once I came to realize fully that we had a third child, a first child, and as a Christian, knowing that eternity is, in a sense, timeless, we'll be reunited with them one day, and I truly look forward to that time. Love never ends.